You've been eating healthy, you've cut back, you have tried the plans, and you're still not losing weight? I want to show you why, because it's not your metabolism and it's not your age. It is a handful of things that nobody has ever clearly explained to you, and that is what this video is about. I have been where you are. I spent years doing everything I thought was right, eating salads, cutting back on carbs, going to the gym multiple times a day, and I could not understand why nothing was changing. I genuinely thought something was wrong with me, that my body just didn't respond like others did. I used to restart every Monday with this feeling of, okay, this is the week, it's going to be different this time, and then Thursday would come and I'd be back at square one. I did that cycle for years. What I did not know then, and what I have learnt since, and it wasn't more motivation or discipline or anything like that, it was just education. And the moment I got that education, everything changed. Not just my results, the way I thought about food entirely. So in this video, I want to walk you through the 4 things that were missing for me, and that are missing for almost every woman who comes to me saying, I eat well, but I can't lose weight. We're going to cover how to actually track your calories correctly, why protein is the most important thing you are probably under eating, why fiber is the most overlooked piece of any plan, and how to balance your carbs and fats once the other things are in place. And at the very end, I'm going to tell you why, even when every woman understands all of this, the weight still comes back, because it's not what most people think. First, let's go over calories, why eating healthy is not the same as a calorie deficit. Let me ask you something. Have you ever said the words, I'm eating really well, but nothing is happening? Because I've said those words. I said them for years, and I meant them. I genuinely believed I was doing everything right. I used to eat a big bowl of oats for breakfast with some fruit in them and think that's healthy and that's a good start to the day. I would have a salad for lunch with some olive oil, avocado, some nuts, and maybe a little bit of cheese, and then a normal dinner. And I would think, that's a healthy day. And then I would wonder why Monday kept coming around and nothing had changed. Here's the thing that nobody told me. Healthy and in a calorie deficit are not the same things. You can eat the cleanest, most nutritious food on the planet and still be consuming more energy than your body needs. And when that happens, no matter how healthy the food is, your body will store the excess as fat. Calories are just energy. Your body burns a certain amount every day to keep you alive and moving. If you are constantly taking in more than you are burning, and even from good foods, you will not lose weight. This is why tracking your calories accurately is the foundation of everything else. You don't need to be obsessed with it, but you just need to be accurate with it. Here is where I got humbled. I thought I was eating around 1,500 calories a day. I started weighing everything and logging everything properly, and I was actually eating closer to 2,000 and 2,200 per day. And that was my healthy day. The gap wasn't from junk food. It was from things like the olive oil, the nuts, the 2 serves of avocado I was having instead of 1. These things add up so fast, and they are invisible until you weigh them. There is research that shows people underestimate their food intake by anywhere from 20 to 40%. And when I started working with women, I saw this pattern immediately. Some would come in telling me they're eating 1,200 calories a day and still not losing weight. But once we got them to weigh everything accurately and log it correctly, the number was closer to like 1,800 to 2,000 calories. Is not because they were lying, it is because they were measuring by eye, measuring by feel, or forgetting what they ate during the day and they forgot to log it. These things have a huge margin for error. A cup of oats measured versus weighing the cup of oats can be over 100 calories difference. 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise instead of 1 is like an extra 100 calories. And look, none of this is your fault, but it is the reason you are not seeing the results you're after. So here is what I want you to do. Go and get yourself a food scale. They're about $10, $12 from Kmart. Then go and download MyFitnessPal. You can use the free version. And for the next week, weigh everything in grams before it goes in your mouth. Not after, not from memory, but beforehand. When you are searching for food in the app, do not scroll until you find the lowest calorie option, somewhere in between or the higher end. You can also use the barcode scanner or find the most accurate entry. The goal is the truth, not a number that makes you feel better. This one change, just getting accurate, is what shifts things for most women before we have changed what they are eating. Most people fail here because they stop at calories and miss what is happening inside that number. But when you understand the next piece, it changes not just your weight, it changes your actual body composition. It's protein. Why every woman coming into our program is under eating this. You've got your calories tracked, you're eating in a deficit, and you're losing weight. But here is a question I want you to sit with. What are you actually losing? Because here is the thing about weight loss without enough protein. You are not just losing fat, you're also losing muscle mass. And losing muscle is quietly one of the most damaging things that can happen to your long-term health and your ability to maintain your results. Every single woman who comes into shape is usually under-eating on protein, and most of them have been dieting on and off for years without anyone ever pointing this out to them. And here is why it matters so much, especially as you are getting older. After around 30 to 40, women start losing muscle mass naturally every year, just as part of aging, and if you are not actively working against it, there is a high chance of osteoporosis. Muscle is expensive for your body to maintain. It burns more energy just by sitting there. When you have more of it, your metabolism is higher. When you lose it, your metabolism will start to drop. This is why women who have done years of restricting dieting often find that each time they try again, they have to eat less and less to get the same results. They've been quietly losing muscle each round of dieting, and each time their baseline metabolism has dropped a little further. Protein is the only macronutrient that preserves and builds muscle, and when you are in a calorie deficit, which you need to lose fat, your body will use muscle tissue for energy unless you give it enough protein to protect it. Eating enough protein is what determines whether you lose fat or look toned, or lose weight and just end up smaller version of something you aren't happy with. My clients have said this to me so many times. I have lost weight, but I still don't like what I see in the mirror. That is almost always a protein problem. They lost weight, they just did not lose fat and keep muscle, and those are very different outcomes. For most women I work with, you want to aim for around 30 to 40% of total daily calories to come from protein. If you're eating 1600 calories, that is roughly around 120 to 160 grams of protein a day. Your best sources are lean chickens, white fish, eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese. You can have protein powders for convenience, but you want to build your plate around these first, and then everything else fills in around them. It also matters for your bone density, your strength, your energy, your ability to keep up with your life as you age. Protein is not optional, it is the most important number in your tracking. This next part of my approach will help you stop feeling deprived and constantly hungry on a deficit, because that is the thing most women give up, and it is almost always a fiber problem. Fiber is the most overlooked piece of every plan. Have you ever been doing really well on a plan during the day and then completely fallen off by either 3 p.m. or 9 o'clock at night? And the reason is almost always that you have not had enough fiber throughout the day. I used to think the afternoon or evening hunger was a willpower issue. I would do really well all day and then find myself standing in front of the fridge, not even knowing what I was looking for. It felt like self-sabotage, but it wasn't. I was just hungry because my food choices during the day, even the healthy ones, were not keeping me full. Once I started prioritizing fiber, the afternoon and evening hunger almost disappeared. Fiber is the most massively overlooked piece in virtually every diet plan. Each coaching program I've seen misses this too. People talk about protein, people obsess over carbs, but nobody talks about fiber, and it is one of the most overlooked powerful tools you have for making this actually sustainable. And here is what fiber actually does. It slows the rate of which your food moves through your digestive system, which means you feel fuller for longer after eating. It helps with stabilizing your blood sugar, which is what prevents that energy crash and the cravings that hit mid-afternoon and late at night. It feeds the good bacteria in your gut, which matters for inflammation, immunity, mood, and how your body processes and absorbs nutrients. Most women, when they come into our program, are only getting somewhere between 10 and 15 grams of fiber a day when they start. The target should be closer to 25 to 35 grams per day. And that's a massive gap, and it explains so much of the constant hunger, the cravings, the feelings that you just cannot stick to anything. Getting more fiber is not complicated. It is just choosing more whole grain carbohydrate sources over refined ones when you have the option. It is fruit as a snack instead of something processed. It's legumes a few times a week, a veggie to your plate, oats over cereal. These are very small practical swaps that add up to a very different experience when being in a calorie deficit. I explain fiber in more detail and what foods in another video on my page that you can check out. Gut health also matters here for a reason most people don't talk about. Chronic low fiber intake contributes to inflammation in the body, and inflammation affects everything from how your body stores fat to how you recover from exercise to your energy levels and your mood. So this is not just about weight loss, it is about how you feel in your body every day. Which brings me to the last piece. Once your calories are tracked, your protein is prioritized, and fiber is consistently high, balancing your carbs and fats become much more straightforward. Most people overthink this, and I want to show you how simple it actually is. If there are two food groups that have been blamed blame for everything and understood by almost nobody, it is carbs and fats. Are carbs bad? Should you go low fat? Should you go keto, paleo, no bread, no rice? I have been through most of these myself. I did low fat, I did low carb, and what I was never told is that neither carbs nor fat are the problem. The problem is not understanding what they actually do. I was just following rules I didn't understand, which meant the moment life got complicated, I dropped them. When you understand what the macronutrients are for, you make a smarter choice, not because someone told you to, but because it all makes sense now. And that shift is what makes these things sustainable. Carbohydrates are your body preferred energy source, specifically for your brain and your muscles during exercise. They're not your enemy. They are fuel. When you eat carbs, your body converts them to glucose and stores them in your muscle and liver as glycogen. That glycogen is what powers your training sessions. Without enough of it, your workout suffers, your recovery suffers, and your energy crashes. Become an issue when the totally energy intake is too high overall, not because carbs are specifically bad. The goal is not to eliminate them. The goal is to choose good sources and time them well. If you train even just weights a few times a week, I would suggest having more of your carbohydrate intake around your training sessions, before a workout to fuel your performance and after a workout to help your muscles recover and refuel. Some good carbohydrate sources are things like potato, sweet potato, rice, oats, quinoa, fruit, and non-starchy vegetables. Dietary fats are essential, especially for women. Your body cannot produce sex hormones like estrogen and progesterone without adequate dietary fats. This matters enormously as you move through perimenopause and menopause. Low-fat dieting for years is part of why so many women in that life stage feel completely out of whack hormonally, because their body has been starved of the raw material it needs to regulate itself. Fats also support brain health, keep you satisfied after meals, and helps your body absorb fat-soluble vitamins. The practical reality is that fats are calorie dense, 9 calories per gram, versus 4 for both protein and carbs, so they're easy to overconsume without realizing it, which is why weighing oils, nut butters, and dairies matter. A generous pour of olive oil can add up to 200 calories without you realizing it. Some good fat sources are things like your avocado, extra virgin olive oil, nuts and seeds, fatty fish like salmon, and we do need to include them. Your hormones need them. Once your calories are accurate, your protein is up, your fiber is consistent, the carbs and fats balance themselves out, you fill in what is left with whole food sources of each. You adjust based on how you feel and how your training is going, and you keep it simple. Now, if you want to make this stick longer than 3 weeks, stay with me. Everything I've just shared with you, the accurate calorie tracking, the protein, the fiber, the balance of carbs and fats, I have watched it work for hundreds of women. I have watched women who understand every single one of these concepts, who tracked accurately for 3 or 4 weeks, who were seeing results, and then something happened. A hard week at work, a difficult conversation, a Tuesday night when the kids were asleep and the house was quiet and the kitchen was 10 steps away and they weren't hungry, but they were stressed, or lonely, or exhausted, or just wanting to numb themselves. And food had been the thing that had helped them cope with those feelings for a very long time, maybe since childhood, maybe since a particular hard season of life. And knowing your macros does not fix that. It cannot. But that behavior has nothing to do with what you know about nutrition. It has to do with what you reach for when you are emotionally depleted. And no calorie deficit can survive it consistently. And this is why women restart every Monday, not because they don't understand the plan, because the plan was never designed to address what drives the eating in the first place. If you have emotional eating, stress eating, habit eating, if you're a binge eater, if you eat in secret, if you find yourself in the kitchen for no reason that have nothing to do with hunger, and you do not address those behaviors alongside the strategy, the weight will come back. And that's because you were never given the right tools. And this is the part inside Shape we help our clients with. Not just a nutrition plan, they get 24/7 one-on-one support, so when the end of the week moment comes and you want to stress eat or emotionally eat, we help them learn why they do what they do, what the triggers are, what they reach for instead, so that over time that pattern genuinely changes. And when the plan is over, they're not back at square one wondering what to eat on holidays or whether to have dessert at a dinner party. They have the tools and understanding how to navigate real life, not just the controlled conditions of the plan. That is what makes this a permanent change, not another round of starting again on Monday. If you are ready to work on the strategy and the behavior side together with actual support, not just a program to follow along with, you can click the link below to apply for coaching. Let's make this a forever change. Or if you want to watch this video here, you can start working on the mindset side of things.